Good day, everyone. Welcome after the short break. Uh, my name is Marcin Jarzebski. I'm project assistant professor at Tokyo College, the University of Tokyo, and I have the honor to chair today the last session, SDG Labs Biodiversity Solution for Change. So thank you everyone for staying with us for 5 sessions over past 10 days. I hope you had enjoyable time, and this is the last actually session before the closing one. And today we will have like 6 wonderful presenters, scholars and practitioners who work for over past year to think of new biodiversity-based solution for change towards transition for sustainable society and for achieving sustainable development goals. But before I start the session and introduce my speakers, I would like to just remind you a few housekeeping rules. So basically, if you would like to leave some questions, please use the question and answer tab at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions. And the chat tab will be used for housekeeping announcement to attendees. So attendees should not use the chat tab for submitting question to the panel, please. And but it's been the same thing over the past 5 sessions, so just it's a reminder. And at the end of the presentation, we will select a few questions if possible, but the time is very short. But in the meantime, the panelists also may respond in writing in the Zoom Q&A tab during the session. And furthermore, the unanswered question, and I believe there will be a couple of them remaining after the session, will be reposted on the forum website. So such virtual space will remain open until Wednesday, April 28th, so 3 like working days. So it will give you opportunity for to have your questions answered by panelists, and also to continue the online discussion. If you have already participated in previous session, of course, you already have been receiving this sort of emails with credential to access the virtual space. So if this is the first session that you have attended, you should receive such credential and instructions shortly. So please contact us through the email that was shared in the chat if you need any assistance. So let me just share the screen first, and then we can start with our session. So again, welcome to the last session, SDG Labs Biodiversity Solution for Change. It's short session, so we will try to keep brief introduction on every project that has been done over past year. So we will have 6 speakers. The order will be different on the screen. So we will have Dr. Ntsiva Andriatsitohaina, the research scientist at Madagascar Forest and Communities Caretaker Association and ESA Forests. We will have Associate Professor Ms. Bixia Chen at University of Ryukyu, and then Jintana Kawasaki, fellow at Institute for Global Environmental Strategies in Japan. However, she conducted the SDG Lab in her mother country, Thailand. And then we have also Jason Lee, lecturer at Southwest Forestry University in China, Armine Abrahamyan at the Armenian National Agrarian University, and Mr. Ismael Ocen, who is a social researcher and development worker at Ocen One Social Research Center in Uganda. So first, before I will ask our first speaker, I would like to briefly introduce you what actually SDG Labs are. So SDG Labs are based on the Social Innovation Lab concept developed by Francis Wesley and colleagues at the University of Waterloo for the Rockefeller Foundation, and based on earlier lab concepts. And the SDG Lab concept aims to initiate processes towards sustainability transformation through innovations such as social, ecological, institutional, technological, or even innovation in business models, or a combination of the above. So the aspiration of the SDG Lab is that they plant seeds of change that can grow and spread, inspire and provide knowledge for transformation on a greater scale, and all our speakers today did a wonderful job on the ground to start such seeds for the change. So A little bit of history. Future Earth with Stockholm Resilience Center also evolved further the concept and funded, for instance, 25 SDG Lab as a part of the 2017 International Conference on Sustainability Science, ICSS. And I just would like to remind you that this also virtual session is part of the next ICSS conference that will be held together in October. And in 2018, another group of SDG Labs was awarded to work and deliver their outcome for the seedbeds of transformation, the role of science with society and the SDGs in Africa conference. And this time SDG Labs with the title Biodiversity-Solutions for Change started in 2020, just prior to the pandemic. And they found, of course, many difficulties to run through it, but they were able to actually did a wonderful job despite these difficulties. And this is a part of the 8th ICSS. This is coming. And SDG Labs were funded mostly by the University of Tokyo, but of course the team sometimes had the local co-funding as well. So as you can see, SDG Labs for the 8th ICSS aims to initiate processes towards sustainability transformations through developing prototype solutions that apply biodiversity as a source of innovation. So this is the main focus of this SDG Lab. We don't only think of the biodiversity conservation itself, but we want to make a use of it to make actually new innovations. So while the biodiversity itself is preserved for future generation. And we funded 10 SDG Labs. However, due to pandemic, only 3 SDG Labs were able to start effectively these projects. And as you can see on the map, we have like Armenia, Japan, China, Thailand, Uganda, Madagascar, and Brazil. Unfortunately, Brazil today is not present, but I hope next time we can follow up on the main ICSS conference in October. So as a first speaker, I would like to invite Dr. Armine Abrahamyan from the Armenian National Agrarian University. The floor is yours.
Thank you, dear Marcin, for this nice introduction. I would like to greet you firstly and to say that it's my big pleasure of being part of this important conference devoted to biodiversity, sustainable use and policy. And I am an agronomist, environmentalist, and plant ecologist. My research work connected with biodiversity, sustainable use and conservation in Armenia these 10 years. So I am the head of International Research Program Coordinating Unit of Armenia National Agrarian University. Just short introduction of me. My CDG lab title is the Accelerating Data Digitalization for Innovative Cropping System. Is the idea of using artificial intelligence, genetic algorithms, and data digitalization for boosting novel solutions in biodiversity conservation. Firstly, I would like to mention that Armenia is the center of origin, one of the center of origin of agrobiodiversity, and a significant center of hotspot of world biodiversity Caucasus. It comprises half of the entire Caucasian flora. It has rich endemic species and rich profiled relatives. Unfortunately, all Eocene hierarchic factors have been identified in Armenian biodiversity. In addition to global climate change, I would like to mention that within these factors, the most significant negative effect is the anthropogenetic threat. And the cultivars of wild endangered species and wild biodiversity could be edible plants, medicinal plants, are not only indigenous people, are not only the community people, but also commercial provider for food processing companies, and they just gather these natural resources. And CDG make a desk research and identifies for one region the gathering of the whole medicinal plants and edible plants in 7,500 tons, which is really a big amount. Most of the challenges most of the sustainable challenges we would like to reach is number 2, number 15, and number 13, and number 4. We would like to contribute directly for these CDG goals, and for indirectly, our goals is to reach for number 17 and 5. Our sustainable, the goal of biodiversity is to create novel cropping system to increase resilience of agroecosystem while receiving diverse mixed cropping system, to protect endangered and vulnerable plant populations, and to accelerate data digitalization and data usage for decision making, not only for the society, not only for the end users, but also, most importantly, by the government, by decision makers. Because we believe in Armenia, that better data digitalization of biodiversity will make us to receive better data and better science for better future. So the strategic aim of the SDG Lab is to reach the wider use of biodiversity data for sustainable management and conservation decision making. The aim is to create novel cropping system, and this novel cropping system is very important, especially in pandemic COVID-19 situation, to receive self-sufficient communities, to cultivate different plants instead of monocultivation in one area, and especially to cultivate alternative plants which are endangered and collecting widely, to introduce them into a production system, and this way to conserve their populations. And there are two working groups that are work in the SDG Lab, local experts and international board comprising Florida University, Institute of Technology of Agriculture Research of Catalan, GBIF, Norway and France were supporting a lot. Different methods has been used during the implementation, like R modeling tools, integral matrix, quadruple helixes approach has been identified to consider stakeholders mapping, like considering academy, civil society, businesses, and the government sector. SWOT analysis and other methods have been realized to interdisciplinary research and reach the goals. Achievements and behinds. What we reach within the 1 year implementation is we make a stakeholders analysis and mapping to identify the readiness of using biodiversity data for the conservation. We develop, at the same time, we develop 4 modules to teach local farmers and tea producers or food producers that are using biodiversity collected from the wild, teaching them that it's very important to cultivate these species. And we provided 7 endangered species agrotechnological maps for cultivation, and also implemented trial pilot area in Ararat region for 2 cropping novel system. And Ararat region in Armenia is a center, is a very suffers with semi-desert and desert and global climate change impact, is the most vulnerable area. And also it contains 70% of orchids that are cultivating there. So it is important somehow to increase the profits of local farmers by cultivating grapes and apricot and other orchids vineyards. So we organize 2 webinars for biodiversity data digitalization, 5 intensive workshops in different regions of Armenia, and most importantly, what we reach behind our achievements and goals, we bring the government of Armenia into GBIF family, Global Biodiversity Information Family, and now I am a national node manager of GBIF in Armenia, and thanks to the cooperating project between SDG Lab and Biodata and other co-funding projects, this was really possible to realize. And I think I would like to thank you so much, SDG Lab funding organization, to make it possible for Armenia to do so huge work, so important work. And I'm so happy to receive the feedback from local farmers while working with them. And they are now asking for the book that we would like to proceed for the next month, the book for cultivation for this endangered species. So they are willing to cultivate them instead of harming their population, because most of the wild population like Timus, Oregano, Hypericum are going to decrease and are going to be extinct for future generation. And it's very important to teach them that today's diversity is the heritage of tomorrow, and it's very important to take care of them.
So if you just try to wrap it up.
I'm just summarizing, and it's just here is just presenting innovative cropping system modules. We increase the biodiversity functions through soil ecosystems, through inviting natural enemies, through contributing pollinators and on-farm conservation. And as you see from the scheme, it's possible to receive yield profits and to receive biocontrol, and for local farmers to receive additional profits due to cultivation of medicinal plants in the cover or marginal areas of cropping system. So we increase the ecosystem functioning and we conserve biodiversity this way. It is just a workshop and seminars. This is the pilot area of Ararat region. And you see the grape and apricot trees are piloting for the diverse mixed cropping system. And the next one in the slide, you will see the workshop, which are very intensive, 3 hours per day, and was realized more than 5 times, and was co-funded by Center for Agribusiness and Rural Development project by Red Neo. And we also organized dissemination activity to involve 35 people and to organize webinars considering the pandemic condition. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you
so much. Armine, it was wonderful presentation and wonderful job you have done in Armenia on the ground on the application of technology for the and databases or for the agricultural practices. So I would like to invite now Dr. Bixia Chen from the University of Ryukyu, and she will talk about conserving biodiversity of homestead windbreaks and home gardens for food security and rural development. And I had actually pleasure recently to visit Dr. Bixia in the southern part of Japan in Ryukyu and in Okinawa. So the floor is yours, Bixia.
Yeah, I'm going to present on my social lab titled Conserving Biodiversity of Home Garden Agroforestry for Food Security and Rural Development in Small Islands. Okay, the background, Okinawa Prefecture is located in the southernmost part of Japan, consisting of 160 islands, many of which are flat, tiny, and even in far distance from the capital city. It also has a subtropical climate, as endowed with rich biodiversity and distinguishing cultural landscape, but suffer from frequent typhoons and historical catastrophes or tsunamis in history. For about 300 years ago, farmers planted trees at all sides of residence of their homes as windbreak to protect the houses from strong typhoon, monsoonal winds in winter. Inside the residence, vegetables and fruit trees are planted in multi-story to effectively use the solar energy and small plots of land resources to produce food supplies for the island people. Our lab aims to raise people's awareness in terms of the significance of homestead windbreaks and to maintain the homestead windbreaks to sustain their home garden production for food security in the remote regions in Okinawa. In the bottom of the slide, you can see, I want to share with all of you the beautiful landscape in Okinawa. Actually, each year before COVID-19, we attract about 10 million tourists each year, majorly from mainland from Japan, and also about 20% from the abroad. However, this old growth, many of the trees have been already very old. As I mentioned, some of them have been first planted about 300 years ago. This tree species is very long life, long living. That's why the major challenge of this kind of windbreaks nowadays is from natural disasters of typhoons, as well as human factors. We know that the tree plantation has been stopped since Japan since Okinawa, Ryukyu Kingdom next to Japan government and changed to Okinawa Prefecture, one prefecture of Japan country. People stopped planting trees since 1879. And during the Second World War, many trees have been burned and died at the war fires. And in 1970s, during the heavy rural development projects, many trees along the road line have been removed to expand the roads for car transportation. And nowadays, recent decades, local people also clear cut the trees, to build bigger houses. And also nowadays, because we also have stone fence in the outside of the tree lines, people cut the tree branches and prune to very short in order to protect their stone fence. Our social lab want to list 3 goals, SDGs goals, as to achieve the sustainable cities and communities, to achieve the contribute to the climate change, and to conserve the lives on land. I think the major goals will be to produce, to maintain a sustainable cities and communities for the island people, for small island people, to have a good management of the windbreaks will help to enhance the resilience of the rural community when they facing natural disasters. And the plantation trees good management will directly contribute to the tree species conservation on the land. And in the end, the increase of trees and the good maintenance of trees will contribute to carbon storage in the trees. We have conducted several interviews on 4 villages to collect information regarding windbreak, traditional use, historical use of windbreaks, and also the proper how the people think about the proper management methods in the local level. And we also organize co-organize with the local government of the workshop to raise the residents' awareness, to educate local residents how important are the trees, and as well as the historical story and the cultural landscape, the cultural background of the trees. And for the kids, we also organize several workshops to raise interest of the kids, young students, and our university students. We have this tree species. It's called Garcinia subarctico. The tree species have been traditionally used as an important dyeing material for the traditional costume. So nowadays we organize a workshop and to teach people to extract beautiful yellow dyes from the branches and the leaves to make small articles just like purses and t-shirts. We also conducted surveys on the diversity of the vegetables and crops, local crops planted in the home garden, to enhance the food security in the remote area, and particularly in the isolated islands in Okinawa. Besides the tree species of the trees of Garcinia, there are also very diverse tree species used as the windbreaks, and also many naturally regenerated tree species found inside the home garden. So we also survey on the vegetation composition of the windbreak forest. We are going to publish, of course, we are going to submit our project report, and also report in Japanese we compile for local governments and local communities.
Thank you so much, Bixia. It was a wonderful presentation, very insightful. And I just want to try to keep this timing. So For the next speaker, I would like to invite Dr. Ntsiva from Madagascar to present her achievements on the SDG Lab entitled Immersive Ecotourism in Tampolo Protected Area Towards Sustainable Development. So Dr. Ntsiva, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marcin. Even you have some difficulties to spell my name due to the name of Malagasy person, but thank you for the introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from Antananarivo, Madagascar. As an early career research scientist, I am very thrilled to attend this virtual event here and to present what we have done so far about our SDG lab entitled Immersive Ecotourism in the new protected area Tampulu. I will try to be clear and concise as possible due to the time issues. As a context, for those who know Madagascar very well, our lovely island is an city, namely endemic species of fauna and flora. We have the famous lemurs, and with its 675 hectares, the new protected area of Tampulu borders the Indian Ocean. It was established in 2006. It is one of the last vestiges of coastal forest and is characterized by its unique biodiversity of littoral forest of eastern Madagascar. Unfortunately, during the last 10 years, the new protected area underwent severe clearance, for example, the logging of big trees for the construction of small boats, but also the production of charcoal, the conversion of forest area into cash crops, namely cloves, lychees, and vanilla. These intrusions are causing really a degradation of biodiversity. As you could notice in the image in the right, we can even count with our 10 fingers the remaining big trees. And on the other hand, stress from daily life, pollution from nearby slash and burn activities and vehicles emissions overcome people in large cities such as Antananarivo, the capital of Madagascar. So people are facing really a degrading health and well-being, and according to statistics from NGO Earth, more than 22% of deaths in Madagascar are linked to the air pollution. So we came up then with the idea to implement a solution which could help people from big cities to increase their well-being, to restore biodiversity, and while enhancing livelihood income of population, especially youth and women surrounding the new protected area of Tampulu. Hence, the SDG Lab aims to contribute to biodiversity restoration, to trigger one form of tourism which follows sustainability patterns. So our SDG Lab is then a think tank triggering a discussion, exchange between different stakeholders about this form of tourism. Following this idea of a think tank, then we stand with the idea that the participatory approach involving the stakeholders from design of our biodiversity-based solution to its implementation is the key to achieve the SDG 3, 8, 13, 15, and 14. All the SDGs are interdependent, right? But for us, we are sure that at the level of the person, people's health, mental and body, who will do the activities related to the immersive ecotourism will increase. At the level of communities, the venue of national or international tourists will promote activities that will enhance incomes and livelihoods activities of people around the protected area. And at the level of the protected area itself, the activities of restoration, such as reforestation, will increase the potential of carbon storage and will have impact on restoring life on land and below the Indian Ocean. So what has been achieved to date? As a first step, we brainstormed and reviewed literature to define who relevant stakeholders are and in which aspect of the ecotourism they are involved. Just to give an example of stakeholders involved, there are the regional direction of tourism of Analanzarufu, the regional direction of environment and sustainable development, and the local communities like the women artisans and economic operators like hotel managers in the nearby town of the protected area, which is Veneres. Then we sent questionnaire to these stakeholders via email and social media due to the pandemic. Next, we held a workshop within the NPA Tampul itself on last November with 17 stakeholders, during which we consolidated the definition of immersive ecotourism. And during the workshop also, we defined potential activities and its period of implementation during the year. For instance, visitors who will do the reforestation might come from January to June. And during the workshop, we also co-reflect with the stakeholders what are the sine qua non activities to realize prior the main implementation, like infrastructure improvement. We still have running activities until now, but I will end my presentation here, and thank you for attention. And if there are questions, I will be glad to answer, of course, in the chat. Thank you, Marcin.
Thank you very much, Ntsiva, and it was a wonderful presentation. And next, I would like to ask Dr. Jintana Kawasaki to present Japan promoting traditional agroforestry farming system for sustainable watershed forest management in the northeastern region of Thailand. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marcin, and good evening, all participants from Bangkok, Thailand. Today, I would like to introduce you about the background of the project site. Normally, the watershed forests in the northeast of Thailand are being degraded because of the high demand for forest product and the expansion of the cash crop cultivations. So these projects aim to explore and demonstrate the traditional agroforestry farming system for biodiversity conservation by using locally preferred and endangered native tree species and reduction of the pressure on remaining forests in Phu National Park in Nong Bollampu province. It is located in the northeast of Thailand. If you look at your right-hand side of the slide, this is the land use change in our project size. We comparative between 2008 with 2018. We observed that normally the dense forest reduced about 40%. But the forest of farmland is increasing 111%. Why it become like that? Because of this project site, you can see the tree cycle in the center of the mapping in the 2018. There are 3 villages located in here. Because of normally before the park was declared as the 15th national park in 1985. They have already 3 villages or community was already existing before the park's designation. So to avoid the conflicts, the government allowed them to continue to live there and limited type of farmland. For example, they can plant some kind of cash crop or some rice or paddy, but cannot do more than that. But anyway, based on our observations, we found that the agricultural expansion continue overlap between forest land and farmland. So based on this objective, so we would like to explore our traditional agroforestry, try to reduce the pressure of this forest encroachment. So this is a background, and you can see normally we can find more 3 priority challenges of the SDG Lab at our project site. First is the growth of luxury furniture market in neighboring country that increase demand for wood, especially rosewood. In your right hand side, you can see on the top one, this is illegal logging rosewood in the protected forest area by local people. The second challenge is a policy to increase the production of forest fruit crops, especially sugarcane and cassava for international market, what associate with the forest encroachment. And we found that the main wildfires normally in this area because of the uncontrolled fire. According to the farmer, they want to burning of the crop residual during the harvesting, and it's become more increase of the biodiversity loss in these areas. Third challenge is the Wi-Fi that I mentioned. Not only for forest encroachment that they want to increase their farmland, but they also want to harvest of non-timber forest products. Normally, the local people, they believe that if they burn of the mushroom or sprout of wild vegetable, they can easily to get more non-timber forest product, and it's easy for them to manage their farm also. So based on these challenges, our goal of the SDG Lab is like try to promote them to convert from the cash crop to traditional agroforestry farming system, and promote how to have the efficiency to manage of the forest and increase of biodiversity and ecosystem services in that area. So based on this goal of the SDG, we can see the link with the goal, including goal to for get the zero hunger and get the clean more water for goal 6, and get more sustainable city and community under goal 11, and under the climate action, and also get more sustainability of forest management under goals 13 and 15. And under which goal, if we look at closely, for example, if we can promote for the traditional agroforestry in that area, the community can get more food production and improve their soil quality, because of they don't need to use any more about the synthesis chemical or fertilizer, and don't want and avoid burning for the crop residuals. Based on this kind of traditional farming systems, we can protect of the watersheds under the target 6.5, and also if everything gets better, also the fresh air get better, is provide the benefit for the community. So our project that have achievement following the activity. First, we have to interview 170 households, and we organize the projects with the community people, and also we invite the local administration of 2 sub-districts in that area, and engage with the official of national park to attend this meeting. And based on our finding in this project, we found that 80% of the villagers reported the forests are highly important food source of the household and their income generation. And also we found that about $248 per household came from the non-timber forest products, or about 15% of the household income in 2020. And the villagers recommended the area of reforestation, including the watershed forest at about 48%, followed by community forest and degradation forest area near the community. And 60% or 65% of the villagers prefer the native food plant species and the local tree species with high economic valuable. For example, macamo or rosewood. And based on we are finding in this one, some villagers, they explain that if the projects give them some information or proper planting technique of the wild vegetable, for example, pakwan, that they can plant pakwan and native tree species in their farm. During our projects workshop, we also provide some the technical how to plant wild pakwan plantation in the farm, and also how to improve their soil quality. Based on our findings, suggestion that first, the implementation of the traditional agroforestry need proper selection of traditional agroforest, need proper selections of native tree species which tolerance to drought, and also those maximize villager economic return, such as pakwan. And the second one, the conversion from sugarcane plantation to traditional agroforestry may be obtained the high opportunity cost. And the third one, it is important to increase understanding and awareness of biodiversity loss and benefit of forest ecosystem services to the local village. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jintana. It was a very insightful presentation. And I would like to process to the next SDG Lab, is the before last one. And I would like to invite Mr. Ismael Ocen to present his research to establish the role of Karimajong nomadic indigenous pastoralists play in conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity. The floor is yours. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's very good to see you.
Yes. My name is Ismael Chen, and I'm from Uganda. My research is to establish the role Karamojong nomadic indigenous pastoralists play in conservation and sustainable use. I'm a social researcher and a development worker. This research is conducted in Karamoja, the home of pastoralists of 1.2 million people, involving 125 households, CSOs 15, then the line government 10. During the research, we found that the welfare of the pastoralists is inseparably linked to the natural resources. And these natural resources, that is land, water, contribute a lot to their survival. The community also told us that in the light of this, they are experiencing intense, frequent weather events that has posed a serious threat affecting their livelihood, especially drought, floods, and they are now experiencing poverty. There is outbreak of pests and diseases. That thing combined has led to migration of youth to the urban center, and that's the challenge they are facing. When we are in the focus group discussion, they say that despite those exposure, Karamojong has a sophisticated and dynamic plan to manage their resource base. For example, they have elaborate use of land strategies to conserve species. You find some places are left to fallow, some grass are not supposed to be banned for animal. Next. We got a sustainability challenge that they are experiencing in relation to my topic. One of them is the traditional management practice to retain those species, how they interact. The nitrate cycle has been challenged because their invasive species has come. Some plants are now not palatable to animal, and it's very difficult to revert due to climate change. That is one of the sustainable challenges. The other one, there is overgrazing that is leading to the loss of vegetative cover, and in the extreme case has put a negative impact to the environment. There is siltation of water sources, sedimentation of other places, and you find that in the area, grazing area is becoming smaller to the number of cows. One thing that you should know is that the Karamojong keeps cows for prestige. Marrying a woman costs about 140 heads of cows. So a person is supposed to keep a large cows to marry, and that is one of the prestige. The other challenge we see is mixed conservation. Today we have production, we also have economic activity. That area is endorsed by natural resources, there's minerals and the rest. So you find that factories has come, and also they are trying to force them to come to to do commercial agriculture. So that is a mixed conservation product is becoming a challenge. And that one, in the future, they say it's going to make their way of living disappear. The last one is the income source continue to diversify. As population grow, not for only pastoralists, other people also come and live in Karamoja. So we find the poor pastoralists are now turning to charcoal burning as a way of survival, and which is degrading the environment in one places. The list of my project was addressing the list of SDG Labs, number 15, which most people have already explained, protect, restore. And also number 13 is to take urgent action to combat climate change, to strengthen resilience. And then goal number 1, to end poverty. But what they say, that those goals can only be achieved if the community's actions are taken in place, because no one understands them, because they have the seasonal calendar. There's some months that they go for harvesting, some months they go for, they move away, they migrate, and there are some period that they go for celebration, their ceremonies. So if those calendars are followed, then they can really have a very good approach to protect their biodiversity. They say that the interlinkages can also work, but only they say that we start with number 15, life on land. If life is there and everyone is working towards that, then they can have action towards mitigation of climate change. And once climate change is mitigation using proactive approach, there will be zero hunger. And at the end, they will have no poverty at the end of 2030, if only communities' actions are taken in place. One of our achievements final is to develop management solution considering the internal needs to ensure that there is flexibility in management approach and for changing needs during the time. How do they do that? They want policy consideration. Then 2, integrating the indigenous knowledge into a viable practice. 3, they want securing land right and water rights, because if their land right is not secured, then the other one they talk about is mainstreaming gender into biodiversity action. And the last one they talk about, the final achievement, is developing what they call the ecosystem business plan or business case, where there is ecotourism and others were done. When that one is done, they will find that at least Karamojong indigenous pastoralists will work towards development goal and preserving the biodiversity. Thank you so much. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Ismael. It was a wonderful presentation. And I would like to ask our last speaker of this session, the Jason Lee, who will present the forestry tree ecosystem services and influence on local livelihood, the case of tea forest in Yunnan, China. So please, the floor is yours. Try to keep around 6 minutes, so I still have some little bit of time to sum up the session before we need to close. The floor is yours, Jason.
Since the time is limited, so I'll just go on to do the presentation. So please to the first page. Where for the background of the SDG Lab, I just use the SWOT pattern. For the strengths, I just stress 3 points. First one is Yunnan is the homeland of tea plants and the tea industry. Second one is Yunnan is the kingdom of animals and plants. Next one is Yunnan has diversity of cultures, ethnics, and landscape. For the weak points, I just list 2 things. One is loss of biodiversity and the same environmental awareness of local citizens. Next one is improved utilization of chemical fertilizers and pesticides for high yield of tea leaves. Okay, for the opportunity part, I just want to say 2 points. One is tea as a healthy drinking has gained the popularity of the world. The next one is the tea, especially Yunnan tea, accumulated some customers of the world. For the strengths part, the first one is competition from other parts and other countries. Next one is environmental deteriorating and the loss of biodiversity in the whole world. Here I just list 3 pictures. The first one is I just want to say that Yunnan is has the highest biodiversity in China. The second picture, I just want to say that in Yunnan we have living 25 minorities. So in the back, we have so many various different kinds of cultures and customers. The last picture is that I just took picture with the E minority. He has tight connection with the TNT industry. Here I just listed also 3 pictures. On the left above, that is the biggest ancient tea tree of the world, recorded in the genus. On the left one, I just want to show that in 2021, that is that tree. It has more than 10 billion RMB to computation for its picking right. And also the last picture shows that the local citizens just want to improve their tea yield. They just use the pesticides and the fertilizers. So based on the previous analyzing, here I just want to see the challenges behind the lab. The first one is contradiction between the green tea products need and the blind pursuit of economic benefits. Especially the local citizens want to earn more money. They just use the pesticides and fertilizers. The second one is that the loss of biodiversity and the environmental awareness. Actually, in last year, in some parts of Yunnan, some local people, they just to cut down the trees, to grow the tea plants in order to earn their money. So the next part is the project addressed. There are 4 points. First one is we just want to find some good models to construct forestry tea garden. The second one is we just want to improve the awareness of multi-benefits of forest tea system. Next one is the construction of ecological tea garden model under the concept of forestry tea. Last one is importance and the role of biodiversity plays in the improvement of local citizens' livelihood. Well, for this page, I just want to say, as we all know, tea and the tea industry plays a very important role in Yunnan economy. So also the Yunnan just want to also seek the green development. So in that case, I think our project has tight connection with the following points. The next is the brief introduction about the project process. We just choose 3 sites, the 3 tea garden and their components. And then we just to do the facilitation through the next 3 parts. First one is field survey, next one is questionnaire inquiry and interviewing. Last part is some scientific experiment. We just want to try to get the overall information and try to get the accurate support points for these findings. Here are the 3 choosing sites. The first picture with very beautiful scenery. It is planting tea and the sakura. The next is tea and the chestnut, and the next one is tea with the Chinese incense center. That is the process of we do the field survey in the 3 sites. We just try to set some experimental plots and try to measure the plants and try to pick up some fresh tea leaves to do the indoor experiment. That is, we just to do the tea sample processing. We just to do the tea specimen, and we just stir the fresh tea leaves. We just try to make the dried tea leaves. Next page, please. That is the sensory test and try to comparison the different plots, different teas from the different plots, and we just try to get the result between the 2 different kinds of tea product. Here are some working pictures. We just to do the interviewing, communication, training, and seminar for the local process. Here are the achievements. In general, we have 6 points. The first one is we have comparative high yield of fresh tea leaves. In general, about 15 to 20 points. Second one is improve the quality of the tea. After the experiment, we find that it has higher vitamin containing and some other things. Okay. Third one is enhancing the maintenance of biodiversity in the garden, the stability of tea ecosystem and better ecological servants. Okay. Next one, we have the better landscape diversity, improving local citizens' income and improvement of local citizens' coordination and cultures. Okay. That is the last slide. I just want to say that actually in our group's opinion, biodiversity is kind of bridge and the media to connect the tea plants on the one hand, and we will just try to connect with some other elements, maybe the diversity of culture, ethnics, and landscapes. And altogether, we just going to go to the conclusion that the biodiversity plays a very important role in raising the local people's income and to raise their living standards. Okay, that's all of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason, for a wonderful, insightful presentation. So we have like only 1 or 2 minutes left. So I briefly just would like to give a synthesis and discussion. As you can see on this slide, like actually using the biodiversity is allowing to address a wide range of SDGs, and you can see the circle one that those which were actually addressed by the 6 teams today presenting. And so viable biodiversity-based solution for sustainability, as you can see, already exists, and new solutions still can be developed based on new technologies deployed to feed the local context. And the solution proposed by SDG Lab teams, just to sum up what we heard today during this 1-hour presentation, I know it's a little bit brief one, but we have novel cropping system for biodiversity, sustainable use and food security, agriculture, value chain, environmental policies, biodiversity digitization, including into policy making processes in Armenia. We have another solution proposed by Dr. Ntsiva from Madagascar about the biodiversity-driven co-design ecotourism to support sustainability and local well-being. And then we had conservation of biodiversity and native plant species through traditional agroforestry system for livelihood, water protection, and sustainable life in Thailand. And biodiversity for homestead, windbreak, and gardens for the environmental and socio-cultural sustainability in Japan. And in Uganda, we had presented another solution, like developing management by considering internal migration with drought to be considered in it, using biodiversity that will support livelihood and will stop further habitat loss. And lastly, what Jason presented, is biodiversity of species, tea species in garden produce socioeconomic and ecological benefits. So there are multiple synergies between SDGs triggered by the biodiversity use and conservation at local level that have potentiality to be scaled up to the regional and national level. So everyone, dear presenter, thank you. Dear panelists, thank you very much for very interesting presentation and your 1-year work on this SDG Labs. And I would like to give the floor to closing session. So thank you very much for being with us. And as I announced in the beginning, you can follow up the discussion on our webpage, and please follow also the email instruction you will receive. Thank you so much.